From the country manager, we now shift gears to talk with our current production superintendent. Nolberto Leiva, fondly called Mr. Noli, is one of the longest serving members of the BSI team. Imagine spending half a century, yes, 5 decades as an employee at one company. Mr. Noli talks about his journey at BSI, among other things.
Yeah, I started working at the age of 18. That is in 1973. I started working as an process apprentice under a training program, a 2 years training program. At that time, who employed me was Mr. Winston Michael, who was the factory chemist at that time, right? And we had Mr. Roger King, who was the manager of the factory at that time, and we had Mr. Gentleman by the name of Frank Curtis, who was the general manager.
Now, what made you apply for a job at BSI back then? Was this something that you knew you wanted to do? Was your education leading you in this direction?
Not really. When I graduated, I started working at the Shell gas station in Orange Uptown under the late Joe Brisenio. They were the owners of that, and they are still operating that gas station in Orange Uptown. Somehow, I think Mr. Winston Michael saw my potential in football, and that's how he invited me.
So he wanted you not to be a part of the BSI team, but the football team.
The football team, exactly. And that is how I ended up being here at BSI. He saw my potential, and then we had this, what we call the interdepartmental football competition between Libertad Sugar Factory and the Tower Hill Sugar Factory. And that's how I came in to BSI, and they offered me this training program for 2 years. And from then on, I spent my 2 years as training within the process department. And thereafter, when I completed my 2 years training, I was taken to the laboratory to expand my knowledge in sugar processing. At that point, I spent a few years there as the reporting chemist. That in itself made me expand my knowledge in the sugar industry, because I started as a reporting chemist. It's like an accountant. I became a statistician, and then what I had to do was to account for sugar rather than money. I had to give account of the sugar coming in, how it was distributed, what we recovered, what were the losses. So that was my role in the laboratory.
What would you say was your biggest challenge back then?
At that time, I wouldn't see challenges, right? I would see opportunities to grow, because at that time, the company was looking to expand. And that is something that made me more look into what I can be, right? Seek to improve myself. And at that point, he saw my potential, and he offered me a correspondence course as a lab technician, a 3 years correspondence course with ICS at that time. I don't know if you have heard of the International Correspondence School.
Yes, I have.
Yes. But that is what I took. And when I completed those 3 years, I got the opportunity of being promoted to factory chemist. Mr. Winston Michael, he went up as the manager for the plant. Sir John Gillett, who was my head of department at the time, he went up as production superintendent. And being the factory chemist, I gained much more experience. Why? Because then, as a factory chemist, I was involved in the relative king quality payment for the farmers. I was not only responsible for the laboratory itself. My role had to be sugar and molasses handling for exportation on the barges to Belize City. Also, in 1985, with the closure of the Libertad sugar factory, we had to start the out-of-crop period. We had to prepare the plant to start doing the direct consumption sugar, because then Libertad was the only plant that did the local consumption sugar.
Which is plantation
white
sugar.
Right, and local brown.
Okay.
So all that equipment had to be brought during the out-of-crop period here at Tower Hill to have it installed in preparation for. At those times, we didn't have any the clarification was being done in batch system, right? The centrifugals to centrifuge the plantation white sugar were manual, where you had to do everything, fill it manually, take out the sugar manually, and things like this.
So you've seen the automating of the factory,
yes,
from very manual and to what it is.
Yeah. So I was involved also I was also responsible for the packaging and storage of the direct consumption sugar. So my tenure as factory chemist really was very exciting. I saw a lot of the expansion that took place. Right? I saw expansion in the mill. For example, we only had one tandem of 4 mills. I saw the expansion for the addition of the 5th mill. I saw the expansion of the 4th roller added to each mill. I saw the expansion of a continuous vacuum pan, batch vacuum pans with agitators. That is when ESR came into the industry, right, which was in 2013. A lot of expansion then took place. Additional evaporators, set of evaporators. We used to, for a weekend repair, we used to spend 22 hours. Now we are spending 6 hours.
Now, being in a place like this for 50 years, obviously you've gone through, as you said, you were reporting chemist, then you went into and all the different. How has that really prepared you to actually be in the position where you are now?
Well, I think, like I said, throughout these 50 years have been exciting for me. I put myself to look at these challenges, and so that I can to further my career then in this industry, right, or the plant itself, right. I focus myself on looking on ways to improve, right. I analyze things properly. I help to do improvements, solve problems, and also work with people so that they themselves can help me in the work.
A question then, so because I think this is a good life lesson for anyone, right? Here you are 50 years in and you're still saying it's exciting. Most people would be saying, I'm ready to go home, right? So you look at it as an opportunity to learn and to continue learning. How much of it was formal and how much of it was actually on the job for you?
I would say about 75%.
It was on the job?
On the job.
Any regrets?
None at all.
Now, how do you keep learning and not grow comfortable in a certain position where you say, I like what I'm doing right now, and that's it.
See, the sugar industry is an industry that um, demands from a person a lot, right? And if you do not take up that challenge, you won't succeed. You need to be someone who, and I will say this, and I would encourage everyone working in the sugar industry. They should participate, contribute, work along with their people, so that the industry continues to be viable.
Now, I want to go back to something that you said earlier because you spoke about some of the changes that were made once ASR came, right? And I know some of that has to do with the automating of certain elements of the factory. How critical in terms of competitiveness and sustainability that you just mentioned were those changes once ASR came to the factory? And maybe that's what made your life exciting still, right?
Yes, because simply, William, I never took a computer course, but I can handle a computer. I look at these equipments, the new technology, seed master that we call, which does crystallization of sugar. At my time, we used to do it manually. Now we look at these equipments now, right? Like I mentioned, very exciting. All around the plant, you see all these changes in new technology. And we have to adapt ourselves once you put yourself that you want to learn.
What would you say to someone who is 18, like the age when you started? What would you say to them if they were interested in something like joining the BSI team or ending up as industrial operations manager 50 years down the road?
Well, don't lose faith. Get into the industry. Very challenging. It will make you someone like me.